Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Introduce myself. My name is Ayu Safaroh from 7B class. Okay, I would like to present about my research proposal. The title is an analysis student problem difficulties toward listening comprehension of learning narrative text at grade 12 students of MA Al-Khairiyah Pontang. Let's see. Chapter 1, Introduction. The first is identification of the problem. Based on the background, my proposal research, there are several problems that can be identified, including there are still many student difficulties in listening to English learning, one of which is narrative text. Listening skills are one of the aspects of language skill that must be possessed by students so that there are no difficulties in the teaching and learning process. Factors that have become difficult student in listening comprehension to learning narrative text. Thus, there are still a lot of students who cannot understand what the teacher is saying in English as a whole. They are a lot confused when the word made by the teacher use a fairly fast speech speed, so it is difficult to understand what the teacher is saying. The second, there is formulation of the problem. After we know the identification of the problem in this research, there are two formulation of the problem. The first, what difficulties do students often face in listening skills in teaching narrative text in class 12 MA Al-Khairiyah Pontang? Second, what factors make students difficult to listen to narrative text learning in the class MA Al-Khairiyah Pontang? Okay. The third is objectives of the study. There are to find out the difficulties of students who often occur in listening skills in teaching narrative text in class 12 MA Al-Khairiyah Pontang. To find out what factors are the difficulties students have in listening to English learning in class 12 MA Al-Khairiyah Pontang. We move in the chapter 2, literature review. This chapter presents a review of the related literature which involve the following main topic: definition of listening, listening comprehension, and potential difficulties in learning listening. The first, listening from Hastings, 1971, say that listening as the ability to understand native speech at a normal speed. So, in the other word, listening is process to understand what being heard by someone who talks normally or too fast. The second, listening comprehension, according to Van der Grief, 1999, listening comprehension is a complex process in which listeners play an activity role in discriminating between sound, understanding vocabulary and grammatical structures, interpreting intonation and stress, and finally, making use of all the skills mentioned above, interpreting the two utterances within the socio-cultural context. The last, the potential difficulties in learning listening. Unfamiliar vocabulary from both 2010 report that the major problem hindering listening comprehension was that the students' vocabulary was too limited to understand the message. Length and speed of the listening from Atkins 1995 states the short listening text facilitate listening comprehension and diminish boredom, keep learning concentration. Another reason makes listening text difficult is the speed. If the speaker speaks faster than normal listener, may have difficulties to catch target words. Chapter 3, Methodology of Research. Research design. I use descriptive qualitative research. This research conduct to identify students' error for listening comprehension at learning narrative, classify error into some classification and suspect root of problems. Research participant. Subject in this research is 5 students from 12 IPA 1 class MA Al-Khairiyah Pontang. data collecting techniques. In collecting the data, I use observation, come to the class during listening comprehension, to know student condition, interview. I choose 5 students to be interviewed, and documentation to collect the appropriate data for this study. Data analysis technique. There are 4 at the data analysis technique. First pass was data collection. All data were submitted according to data collection procedure. Second pass, data reduction occur continually throughout the analysis. Third pass, data display. Display is used at all pass. Data will be organized and summarized to help draw conclusion. The last pass, drawing and verifying conclusion. After reduction and display, the data will be drawn from the beginning of data collection. Thank you. Enough for me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.